Lucy Parker had always been the responsible one. At 28 years old, she had a stable job as an accountant, a tidy apartment in the suburbs, and a small but close circle of friends she'd known since college. Her life followed a comfortable routine. Work during the week, maybe happy hour drinks with co-workers on Fridays, then relaxing at home or meeting up with friends on weekends. It wasn't the most exciting existence, but Lucy took pride in her independence and having her life together. She'd been single for the past couple years, after a string of uninspiring dates and short-lived relationships in her early 20s. Lucy told herself and others that she was focused on her career right now, but deep down, she longed for a deeper connection. Still, she wasn't the type to actively pursue romance or put herself out there. She figured the right person would come along eventually if it was meant to be. For now, Lucy was content with her orderly life and close relationship with her family. She spoke to her parents at least once a week and visited them for Sunday dinners as often as she could. Her younger sister Megan was in her final year of college, so Lucy enjoyed hearing updates about campus life and offering sisterly advice. It was during one of these family dinners that Lucy's comfortable world began to shift, though she didn't realize it at the time. Her parents mentioned that her father's old college roommate Isaac and his son would be coming to town for a visit next month. Lucy vaguely remembered meeting Isaac years ago at her high school graduation party, but she couldn't conjure up a clear image of him in her mind. "You'll have to join us for dinner while they're here," her mother said. "Isaac's son Jake is about your age. Maybe you two will hit it off." She gave Lucy a hopeful smile. Lucy resisted the urge to roll her eyes. Her mother was always trying to set her up with eligible bachelors. "Mom, you know I'm not really looking to date anyone right now," she replied patiently. I know, but it doesn't hurt to make new friends, right?" Her mother persisted. "Just come to dinner and be your lovely self. No pressure." Lucy agreed, if only to appease her mother and avoid a lecture about not closing herself off to opportunities. She promptly forgot about the upcoming dinner as she returned to her usual routine over the next few weeks. When the evening finally arrived, Lucy found herself rushing to her parents' house straight from work, still wearing her office attire of a pencil skirt and silk blouse. She'd gotten caught up finishing a report and barely had time to touch up her makeup in the car. As she hurried up the front walk, she could hear laughter and conversation drifting from the backyard. Lucy rounded the corner of the house and froze. Her eyes were immediately drawn to a tall, handsome man with salt and pepper hair who was chatting animatedly with her father by the grill. He turned as she approached, revealing striking blue eyes that crinkled at the corners as he smiled. Lucy felt her breath catch in her throat. "Ah, there she is!" her father called out. "Lucy, come meet Isaac and Jake." Lucy approached on unsteady legs, hyper-aware of Isaac's gaze on her. Up close, she could see the laugh lines etched around his eyes and mouth. He looked to be in his early 50s, but carried himself with an easy confidence that made him seem ageless. "It's nice to see you again, Lucy," Isaac said warmly, reaching out to shake her hand. "You've grown into quite a beautiful young woman." His hand was large and warm, enveloping hers completely. Lucy felt a blush creeping up her neck. "Thank you, it's nice to see you too," she managed to reply. She turned to greet Jake, who was closer to her age but paled in comparison to his father's magnetic presence. Throughout dinner, Lucy found her gaze continually drawn to Isaac. He was charming and articulate, regaling them with stories from his travels and business ventures. Lucy was captivated by the way his eyes lit up when he spoke about his passions. She contributed to the conversation when she could, wanting to impress him with her own knowledge and wit. As the evening wore on, Lucy noticed Isaac glancing her way more frequently. Their eyes would meet across the table and linger for a heartbeat too long before one of them looked away. A tension began to build between them, electric and dangerous. Lucy tried to push away the inappropriate thoughts creeping into her mind. This was her father's friend, for heaven's sake, old enough to be her own father, and yet she couldn't deny the pull she felt toward him, unlike anything she'd experienced before. After dinner, the group moved to the living room for coffee and dessert. Lucy ended up perched on the arm of the sofa next to Isaac. As the others chatted, Isaac leaned in close to murmur a comment in Lucy's ear. His breath tickled her skin, sending a shiver down her spine. She turned her head slightly, bringing their faces mere inches apart. For a moment, the rest of the room faded away, and it was just the two of them, caught in each other's orbit. The spell was broken when Lucy's mother called out to offer more coffee. Lucy jerked away, flustered and confused by her reaction. She made her excuses shortly after, claiming an early meeting the next day. As she said her goodbyes, Isaac's hand lingered on her lower back, his touch searing through the thin fabric of her blouse. "I hope we'll see more of you while I'm in town," he said softly, his blue eyes intense. Lucy nodded mutely, not trusting herself to speak. She practically fled to her car, her mind and body in turmoil. Over the next few weeks, Lucy tried to push thoughts of Isaac from her mind. She threw herself into work and avoided her parents' invitations, not wanting to risk running into him again. But late at night, she found herself replaying their interactions, imagining what might have happened if she'd given in to the attraction between them. Just when Lucy thought she had gotten control of her wayward feelings, fate intervened. Her company announced they were bringing in a consultant to oversee a major software upgrade, none other than Isaac himself. Lucy's stomach dropped when she saw the company-wide email. How was she supposed to focus with him in such close proximity? Their first encounter in the office was awkward and charged with unspoken tension. Isaac greeted her professionally, but his eyes held a hint of something more. Lucy stammered through their interaction, hyper-aware of her co-workers milling about nearby. As the days passed, Lucy and Isaac were forced to work closely together on various aspects of the project. She was impressed by his technical knowledge and leadership skills. He always took the time to explain complex concepts clearly and valued her input. Despite her best efforts to keep things purely professional, Lucy found herself looking forward to their meetings and seeking out reasons to collaborate. Isaac, for his part, seemed to go out of his way to be near Lucy. He would bring her coffee in the mornings or stop by her desk to chat. His hand would brush against hers as they looked over documents together. Each small touch sent electricity coursing through Lucy's body. The flirting became more overt as the weeks went on. Isaac would compliment Lucy's outfit or make suggestive comments that could be played off as jokes. Lucy gave as good as she got, unable to resist the thrill of their verbal sparring. The sexual tension between them grew to a fever pitch, threatening to boil over at any moment. Everything came to a head late one night as they worked overtime to meet a project deadline. The office was deserted except for the two of them. As Lucy leaned over Isaac's shoulder to point something out on his computer screen, he suddenly turned his head. Their lips met in a searing kiss that quickly escalated. Lucy knew she should stop, that this was wrong on so many levels. But she had wanted this for so long, craved Isaac's touch with an intensity that frightened her. She gave herself over to the passion, letting Isaac pull her onto his lap as their kisses grew more heated. Things might have gone even further if the janitor hadn't walked in, startling them apart. Mortified, Lucy grabbed her things and ran out of the office without a word. She spent a sleepless night alternating between reliving the kiss and agonizing over the consequences. The next day, Lucy avoided Isaac as much as possible. She felt guilty and ashamed, unable to look her co-workers in the eye. How could she have let things go so far? She was jeopardizing her career and reputation, not to mention betraying her family's trust. Isaac cornered her in the break room that afternoon. "Lucy, we need to talk about what happened," he said in a low voice. "There's nothing to talk about," Lucy hissed. "It was a mistake and it can never happen again." Isaac's face fell. "Is that really how you feel? Because I can't stop thinking about you, about us." Lucy's resolve wavered at the raw emotion in his voice. "Isaac, you're my father's friend. You're married. This is so wrong on every level." I know, Isaac sighed, running a hand through his hair. "But I haven't felt this alive in years. There's something special between us, Lucy. Don't you feel it too?" Lucy bit her lip, fighting back tears. Of course she felt it. The connection between them was undeniable, but that didn't make it right. "We can't," she whispered. "Please, just leave me alone." She hurried out of the break room, leaving Isaac staring after her with a pained expression. Lucy thought that would be the end of it. She was wrong. Over the next few days, Isaac respected her wishes and kept his distance at work. But late Friday night, Lucy's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I can't stop thinking about you. Meet me at the Riverside Hotel bar tomorrow night at 8. No pressure, just to talk. Lucy knew she shouldn't go. It would only lead to more heartache and complications. And yet she found herself entering the dimly lit hotel bar the next evening, scanning the room for Isaac's familiar form. He was seated at a secluded booth in the back, nursing a whiskey. His face lit up when he saw Lucy, making her heart skip a beat. She slid into the booth across from him, hands clasped tightly in her lap. "I wasn't sure you'd come," Isaac said softly. "I'm not sure why I did," Lucy admitted. They talked for hours, really talked in a way they hadn't been able to before. Isaac opened up about his unhappy marriage and feelings of restlessness in his life. Lucy shared her own insecurities and desire for something more. As the night wore on, they moved closer together until their thighs were touching under the table. "Come up to my room," Isaac murmured, his hand caressing Lucy's knee. "Just to continue our conversation somewhere more private." Lucy knew it was a line, knew exactly where this would lead if she said yes. She should say no, should leave now before things went too far. Instead, she found herself nodding and following Isaac to the elevator. The moment the hotel room door closed behind them, Isaac pulled Lucy into his arms and kissed her deeply. This time there were no interruptions as they gave in to their desires. Lucy lost herself in the pleasure of Isaac's touch, pushing aside all thoughts of consequences. In the afterglow, reality came crashing back. Lucy felt a wave of guilt and shame wash over her. What had she done? She quietly got dressed and slipped out while Isaac was in the bathroom, leaving only a hastily scrawled note. "I'm sorry. This was a mistake. Please don't contact me again." The next few weeks were torture for Lucy. She was consumed by guilt and fear of being found out. Every time her phone buzzed, she panicked that it was Isaac trying to reach her. She made excuses to avoid family dinners, not able to face her parents. At work, she kept her head down and spoke to Isaac only when absolutely necessary for the project. Isaac tried to get her alone to talk several times, but Lucy always managed to evade him. She could see the hurt and confusion in his eyes, but she hardened her heart against it. This infatuation had already gone too far. She needed to end it decisively before she ruined multiple lives. As the software project wrapped up, Lucy breathed a sigh of relief that she would no longer have to see Isaac every day. But her relief was short-lived. At the team's celebratory happy hour, her co-worker Jen pulled her aside with a concerned look. "Lucy, I don't want to pry, but is everything okay between you and Isaac?" Jen asked hesitantly. "Things seem really tense, and I could have sworn I saw you leaving his hotel room a few weeks ago." Lucy felt the blood drain from her face. "What? No, of course not," she sputtered. "You must be mistaken." Jen didn't look convinced. "Okay, if you say so. I just wanted to make sure you're all right. You know you can talk to me if you need to, right?" Lucy nodded stiffly and excused herself, fleeing to the bathroom. She splashed cold water on her face, trying to calm her racing heart. Was she really so transparent? How many others had noticed something amiss? She left the happy hour early, ignoring the concerned looks from her co-workers. That night, she barely slept as worst-case scenarios played out in her mind. What if Jen told others what she'd seen? What if word got back to her family somehow? The life she'd worked so hard to build could come crashing down around her. The next morning, Lucy marched into her boss's office first thing and requested a transfer to the company's office in another city. She cited a desire for new challenges and opportunities for growth. Her boss was surprised but supportive, promising to see what he could do. 2 weeks later, Lucy was packing up her apartment to move across the country for her new position. She'd told her family and friends it was an exciting career opportunity she couldn't pass up. Only she knew she was really running away from her mistakes and the temptation of Isaac. The night before her move, Lucy's phone buzzed with a text from Isaac. "Please don't go. We need to talk. I love you." Lucy's hand shook as she deleted the message and blocked his number. Tears streamed down her face as she curled up on her bare mattress, surrounded by moving boxes. Part of her wanted so badly to respond, to run back into Isaac's arms and damn the consequences. but she knew that way lay only heartbreak and destruction. As Lucy boarded her flight the next morning, she felt a complex mix of emotions: sadness, regret, fear, but also hope for a fresh start. She vowed to learn from this experience and be more careful with her heart in the future. The first few months in her new city were difficult as Lucy adjusted to her new job and life away from everyone she knew. But gradually, she began to heal and rediscover herself. She made new friends, took up new hobbies, and excelled in her career. Lucy still thought of Isaac sometimes, wondering what might have been. But as time passed, the sharp pain of loss faded to a dull ache. She came to realize that while their connection had been real, a relationship built on secrets and lies could never have truly flourished. A year after her move, Lucy finally felt ready to start dating again. She approached relationships with more caution and wisdom now, taking things slowly and being upfront about her needs and boundaries. She was no longer the naive girl who had been swept away by forbidden passion. On a crisp fall evening, Lucy sat on a park bench overlooking the city lights. She reflected on how much her life had changed in the past year, how much she had changed. The experience with Isaac, painful as it had been, had forced her out of her comfort zone and taught her important lessons about herself. Lucy realized she no longer regretted what had happened. It had been a catalyst for growth and self-discovery. She had learned to take risks, to open her heart, and to forgive herself for her mistakes. Most importantly, she had learned that true love and connection couldn't thrive in secrecy and deception. As she stood to leave, Lucy felt a sense of peace wash over her. She was ready to embrace whatever the future held, with open eyes and an open heart. The forbidden romance with Isaac was now just a bittersweet memory, a chapter closed, but one that had helped shape the woman she had become.